If you want to go from employee to founder, don't quit your job until these three signals are green. One of them is the silent killer most creators miss. If you get this wrong, you can feel rich one month and unemployed the next. Get it right, and you can confidently quit tomorrow. I'll share how I did it successfully, my numbers, tools I used, and the mistakes I see creators make often. By the end, you'll know if you're greenlit or what to fix first. Most transitions from employee to founder fail for two reasons: running out of cash and running out of pipeline. This framework prevents both. You will leave with numbers you can run today and a clear date range to aim at. I used this exact model for my own transition into my business, which I later sold for a quiet $250,000. I mention that not as a brag, but as context that this is real world proven tactics. Now, I'm going to assume that you already know what you want to do as a business, so we'll skip past the what and we'll focus in on how. How do you do this without ending up living in a van down by the river? Well, there are a few ways you could go about doing this. You could quit and jump right into the deep end and hope that you can sell well enough and fast enough to pay your bills. And I think that is a clear way to gamble with your future. The other way is to use these three gauges to tell if you're ready to quit your day job. And I'm going to break down each into a why, a what, and a how. The three gauges are runway, revenue, and pipeline. If two of them are green and the third is a strong yellow, the answer may just be that yes, you are ready. But if any of them are red or more of them are yellow, well, when I moved my production agency from a side hustle into a full-time job, I did not do it blindly. I had already learned this lesson the hard way a few years back when I tried to go out on my own. I talk about it more in this video here that I'll link if you want to hear about the full story, but suffice it to say, I ended up getting a job painting houses and had to work my way back into being able to try it again. So my hope is that this gives you the clarity and the foundation to build off of so you can learn from people like me who have already done it the hard way, and you can do it the easy way. Let's break down the first gauge. Gauge one is runway. You need a buffer, a safety net to keep the wolves at bay and to pay your bills if things don't go as planned, which they rarely do. This is straightforward. It doesn't have to be complex. It's liquid assets, a savings account, or money you can get to in a day or two without having to sell your vehicle, so it's liquid. But how much do you actually need to squirrel away for those rainy days? It starts by finding out what you actually spend every month, your cost of living. And if you don't know what you need to live on each month, start figuring out that now before you have to figure it out the hard way. You need to be disciplined if you're going to make this leap into a full-time gig, because you'll spend much more if you don't have a budget, and you won't be able to save up this runway if you're spending more. A good place to start if you're just beginning is honestly pen and paper. Write down your monthly expenses, and then you can graduate to a budgeting app like Monarch later down the road. That's the app that I use and recommend. To get your monthly spend, you can take your credit card or bank statements from the last 3 months and average them for a starting number. This can be the easiest way to do it. Then add in the costs you will need to begin paying after you quit. This is an imperative step that can easily be overlooked. You might be used to health insurance being paid by your current full-time employer. You're going to have to pay that when you go out on your own. Total all of this, and that is your monthly expense number. Write it down. This is the number that every other decision depends on. Now, if this is sounding overwhelming, that's okay. You can use a tool that I built that gives you starting numbers for many of these things, and it also calculates what you should be charging for hourly. We'll cover the hourly charging part in the next gauge, but for now you can use the tool to find your monthly total expenses. The link to it is in the description below. Now target 4 to 6 months of those expenses in a separate runway account. Do not put this money in your checking account where you can easily spend it. Put it in a separate account to save. If you have dependents or medical complexity, things like that, push towards 6 months and only count money that is already in the account. Hoped for bonuses, hoped for tax refunds, or hoped for unpaid invoices do not count. So why do I say budgeting is so important? Because money without guardrails will leak away through the cracks of things like Amazon and fast food and entertainment. Discipline now with this budget gives you the freedom you want in the future. So what does this look like in practice? For me, I needed about $4,000 a month to live. That was cutting any extras out, and it was living on rice and beans, but it gave me a number to hit. I worked towards $20,000 to save up, or about 5 months of Runway. That might sound like a lot of money to some before jumping out on your own, but here's how I did it. I took 80 to 90% of my side hustle profit and I put it into the savings account. And I treated any income that came from my own business as a reinvestment into building a runway for that business to grow and take off of. I did not spend it. I also lived below my full-time job income and saved every penny I could from that as well, by following a budget and naming every dollar I brought in. This is not a glamorous part of building a business, but it's going to give you a foundation to build off of and make sure that you don't get desperate as you go from that side hustle to a full-time job. So decide what safety net size you want, and if you are at that number or above it, this gauge is green. And the next gauge is revenue. So let's get something straight. Invoices are not revenue. Promises do not equal paychecks, and peaks often hide valleys. This is a trailing gauge that requires you to prove out what you can make in your business. I'll go into this more here. You are looking for 3 to 6 consecutive months of collected side hustle revenue. Collected means the money cleared your account. It's not an invoice out there, it's money in the bank. A healthy target is covering 30 to 60% of your monthly expenses from the side hustle. This gives you a good starting point, and it does not have to be 100% yet. So your runway covers the gap while you scale, but the pattern of the income must be real. And this proves out that if you focus on the side hustle full time, you could scale that from the 30 to 60% up to 100% plus. But not all revenue is equal. So if you look at just the numbers over only 3 months, that can lead to a very harsh reality when you quit. A good way to help with this is ask yourself 3 questions. First, is it repeatable income? Can this type of work be sold again next month or next quarter, or was this a seasonal or unique sale in some way? The second question is around margin. Did you make your hourly rate or hit a profit margin you know was profitable? Knowing your effective hourly rate so you can price projects will give you confidence in what to charge. The calculator that I mentioned earlier takes into account every variable, like overhead, admin time, taxes. It will give you a solid hourly rate that you need to be successful with. Go get that tool and make sure that your revenue is actually worth the effort. The third question is, how concentrated is your revenue? If one client makes up most of your income, that is a very fragile business. Spread the risk, and if you lose one client, you won't have to start painting houses like I did. A good rule of thumb is that no one client or product should make up more than 20% of your revenue. That means you have at least 5 or more products or customers that you are successfully able to sell to. One more note on revenue. I do not recommend billing by the hour. You do need an hourly rate to estimate projects with and figure out your profit margin, but package what you sell so that buyers see a clear outcome and a simple next step. This is value-based selling, not hourly. If you charge hourly, you won't own a business, you'll own your job. If the calculator shows your true rate is higher than your current pricing, move a step toward it and estimate your next project higher than the last one. At my tipping point, I had only one-off clients, but income landed every quarter for 6 months, and I was able to get an average that hit my goal of consistent revenue before I quit my day job. Once you can prove consistent revenue from your business that hits that 30 to 60% of what you make, this gauge becomes green for you. But even if the percentage is lower than your goal, this gauge may only become yellow if you're confident you could scale the revenue working it full time. Now, this next dial is what kills most new businesses. You sell hard, then you fulfill hard, and then you wake up to an empty calendar and no pipeline. This is a roller coaster of no work, and then too much work, and then no work. The roller coaster effect can be removed if you do these things. Block at least 1 hour every weekday for pipeline. Make it non-negotiable. Set yourself a goal for number of warm touches in a week. That can be follow-ups or emails or DMs, grabbing coffee, asking for referrals, whatever it is. Track the leads and stages and dates in a simple Google Sheet or a lightweight CRM you will actually use. The tool I started off with for the first few years was a simple Gmail plugin called Streak. I'll put a link in the description below for it. Consistency in building your pipeline beats volume. Your goal is a pipeline that moves even when you are busy delivering. If you don't commit to continuously nurturing your pipeline, it will dry up and you will be back on that roller coaster. When it comes to pipeline building, a huge thing is show your work. I cannot stress this enough. People don't know what you're capable of providing if you never show them. Publish at least one useful article every week or a teardown of a project. You can show work in progress or release a case study that shows outcomes and not only the deliverable. Another pipeline builder that many fail to utilize is ask for one referral on every project while that client is appreciative of what you are providing them. This is like leaving money on the table if you're not asking your own clients for referrals. When people can see the path, they step into it. So show them what you provide and ask them for specific referrals. Systems can be a major time saver in pipeline gen. So what type of systems can help? Time blocking is a big one, which allows you to focus in on selling on specific days and creating on other days. For instance, you could set aside Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings for sales tasks, and Tuesdays and Thursdays are dedicated solely for delivery. That allows you to get deep work done. Another one is you could pre-write onboarding emails and proposals and statements of work and then reuse those instead of reinventing them every time. Systems don't have to be complex, but they can save you a lot of time. The pipeline gauge is green when you consistently have deals opened and deals won. As you do this, you'll be able to calculate an average amount of the pipeline you win. So if, say, you need to bring in $10,000 a month and you have a 50% win rate, that means you need to have at least $20,000 in your pipeline at any given time for this gauge to stay green. The name of the game here is consistency. If you disappear for 2 months, referrals will disappear with you, so keep showing up. Those are the 3 gauges you can use to know if you're ready to jump out on your own. 2 greens and 1 strong yellow can be enough, but never quit with 2 yellows or any red gauges. So here is a clean mix to aim for with these 3 gauges. Runway is green with 4 to 6 months in a separate account. Revenue is yellow or green with at least 3 to 6 months of collected work covering about 30 to 60% of expenses. Pipeline is green with a daily rhythm put in place and a consistent minimum dollar amount in the works. Runway gives you calm, revenue proves demand, and pipeline prevents the roller coaster effect. These 3 together create your tipping point. The goal here is to succeed, not to move fast. Aim for a calm, confident, yes, it's time, not an adrenaline yes, and you will be one of the few to successfully move from employee to founder. If you want the exact tools I mentioned, grab my calculator and the simple CRM tool in the description below. They will help you price for profit and avoid that sell then stall roller coaster. And if you found this useful, like and subscribe for more creator to founder advice.